Welcome to A Quiet Place for Tired Minds, a series of calm reflections for overwhelmed humans living in a noisy world. Have you ever noticed it? How often we tell ourselves life will feel better when work becomes easier, when the children are older, when we have more money, when we finally lose the weight, when we move house, when life calms down, when we finally have time. Always when. And perhaps without even noticing, we quietly begin living for a day that has not yet arrived. What if the life you've been waiting for has been quietly happening while you've been waiting? That thought stayed with me for a long time because I realized how many ordinary Tuesdays I had hurried through, how many cups of tea I drank while already thinking about tomorrow, how many sunsets I almost missed because I believed something more important was waiting somewhere ahead. There is something strangely human about believing happiness always lives just over the next hill. When I finish this project, then I'll breathe. When this stressful season ends, then I'll rest. When I'll have more time, then I'll start painting again. And somehow, that future keeps moving, like the horizon, always visible, never reach it. Perhaps it isn't because we don't appreciate life. Perhaps we've simply become experts at postponing it. I sometimes wonder how many people are saving their favorite moments for a version of life that never actually arrives. A beautiful notebook waiting for the perfect idea, a lovely dress waiting for the special occasion, the expensive candle waiting for guests, the dream holiday waiting until everything feels easier, the phone call waiting until there's more time, the words, "I love you," waiting until tomorrow. But life has a gentle habit of happening today. Perhaps one of the saddest things we quietly learn is to believe that ordinary days don't matter very much. Yet, ordinary days become our lives. Nobody usually takes a photograph of ordinary Wednesday morning. No awards are given for sitting quietly in the garden. Nobody applauds the person who stopped to watch a butterfly. These moments don't look important. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask to be remembered. And perhaps that is exactly why they are easy to overlook. I remember once hearing someone say, "One day you'll miss the life you're rushing through today." At first, I thought it sounded poetic. Then I realized it was painfully true. Because one day, the school run ends, the noisy kitchen becomes quiet, parents grow older, children stop asking you to play, the dog no longer waits at the door, friends move away, seasons change. The trees outside our window becomes taller, and suddenly, the moments that once felt ordinary become the ones you would give anything to experience one more time. Maybe it has never been hiding inside extraordinary moments. Maybe it has always lived inside the ones we barely notice. The warmth of sunlight on your face, fresh bread, a familiar voice, rain tapping gently against the window, coffee shared with someone you love, walking without looking at your phone, hearing your own laughter before you had time to judge it. Perhaps these were never interruptions. Perhaps they were the whole point. And here's something I've been quietly asking myself. What if happiness has knocked on your door hundreds of times, dressed on as an ordinary Tuesday? Would you recognize it? Or would you be too busy waiting for Friday? Perhaps life isn't asking us to find more extraordinary moments. Perhaps it's asking us to become more present for the ordinary ones. Perhaps we don't realize how often we postpone joy, not because we don't value it, because we've quietly convinced ourselves that joy should be earned after the work is finished, after the house is clean, after we've answered every message, after we've achieved enough. And then we allow ourselves to slow down. And then we'll buy the flowers, take the walk, read the book, light the candle, call a friend, watch the sunset, smile without feeling guilty. But life has an interesting way of reminding us that there is always another task, another responsibility, another reason to wait. What if the list never ends? If peace depends on finishing everything, will we ever truly arrive? I wonder how many beautiful things we save for a version of ourselves who is finally less busy. We save the expensive tea, the flavor, favorite perfume, the handwritten notebook, the beautiful clothes, the good china, as thought today is something not important enough. As stuff this ordinary Tuesday hasn't quite earned beauty yet. And yet, today is quietly becoming yesterday. Perhaps one of the greatest illusions of adulthood is believing that life begins once everything is under control. But has life ever really been under control? Storm arrives unexpectedly, plans change, people move away, children grow up, seasons pass, the years slip by, without asking whether we felt ready. Perhaps life was never waiting for perfect conditions. Rain never waits until every flower is prepared. Spring doesn't ask whether winter has finished teaching its lessons. Morning arrives, even after difficult nights. Life continues, not because everything is perfect, but because that is what life has always done. Perhaps we could be a little more like that. Have you ever noticed that some of your happiest memories were never planned? Nobody wakes up saying, "Today will become one of the memories I'll treasure forever." Yet, somehow, it happens. A conversation that lasts longer than expected, an unexpected laugh, a walk that turned into an adventure, a cup of tea shared with someone you love. a child saying something wonderfully honest, watching the sky change color, the smell of rain after a warm afternoon. None of it is extraordinary until years later, when you realize those ordinary moments quietly became your favorite chapters. I sometimes imagine what life looks like from the perspective of an old oak tree. It has watched thousands of mornings arrive, thousands of evenings disappear. Children become adults, families gather beneath its branches. People laugh, cry, fall in love, say goodbye, and through it all, the tree simply remains present. It doesn't rush the seasons. It doesn't mourn yesterday's leaves forever. It doesn't refuse today's sunlight, because tomorrow might be cloudy. It receives each day exactly as it arrives. There is a wisdom in that, not because trees have easy lives, because they never forget that today is the only season they can actually live. Perhaps we've become so focused on creating a meaningful life that we've forgotten meaning quietly hides inside ordinary moments, not somewhere else, here, now, inside this conversation, this breath, this walk, this cup of tea, this bird singing outside your window while you were too busy worrying to hear it. And maybe the greatest sadness isn't that life is short. Maybe it's that we spend so much of it looking ahead, that we forgot to notice the miracle already happening beneath our feet. Perhaps we don't need more time. Perhaps we need to meet the time we already been given. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when life settles down, but this quiet afternoon, this ordinary morning, this imperfect, beautiful, completely unrepeatable day. Because one day you may discover that the life you were waiting to be had been gently calling your name all along. Life has a curious way of disguising the moments that matter most. It rarely announces them. It doesn't place a sign beside an ordinary afternoon saying, "You'll remember this forever." And it doesn't whisper, "Pay attention, this conversation will one day become one of your favorite memories." Or it doesn't tell you, "This is the last summer before everything changes." Life simply keeps moving, quietly, patiently, while we assume the important moments are still ahead. Perhaps the reason ordinary days seem so ordinary is because we're living them instead of remembering them. Only later do they begin to glow. Think back to a memory that still makes you smile. Maybe it wasn't your biggest achievement. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting day of your life. Perhaps it was breakfast around the kitchen table, your grandmother hanging washing in the garden, the smell of soup on a cold afternoon, your father teaching you something simple, your mother calling you in for dinner, laughing so hard with a friend that your stomach hurt, watching rain race down the window while holding a warm mug. At the time, they were just ordinary moments, yet today, they feel priceless. Not because they were extraordinary, because they become part of the story that quietly became your life. Sometimes I wonder if we're all a little too busy trying to build a memorable life instead of noticing that memory is quietly being made right now. Every ordinary morning, every shared meal, every walk, every goodbye, every hug, every see you tomorrow. Life doesn't suddenly begin. It gently accumulates, one unnoticed moment at a time. I often think about older people. When they tell stories, they rarely begin with, "Let me tell you about the email I answered," or "You'll never believe how organized my to-do list was." Instead, they tell stories about people, gardens, summer evenings, family holidays, the sound of laughter, a favorite recipe, or a walk they never forgot. Perhaps without realizing it, they're showing us what mattered all along. Here's something I've quietly been wondering. If you could visit yourself 20 years from now, what ordinary moment would your future self beg you not to rush through today? Will this be a cup of tea, this walk, your child's laughter, your parents' voice, the way your dog greets you at the door, your own health, the freedom you don't yet realize you have? Sometimes the greatest gift isn't more time. It's recognizing the gift inside the time you already have. There is a beautiful Japanese expression, ikigo ik. It reminds us that this moment will never happen again in exactly the same way. The people, the weather, the season, the conversation, even you, will never again be quite the person you are right now. Not because life is sad, because it is beautifully alive, always changing, always moving, always becoming. Perhaps that is why ordinary moments deserve our attention. Not because they last forever, because they don't. Sometimes we imagine presence as something complicated, a skill to master, a technique to learn. But perhaps presence is much simpler than that. Perhaps it's looking up when a bird begins to sing. It's tasting your tea instead of drinking it absent-mindedly. It's walking without needing a destination. It's watching the sky for no reason at all. It's saying, "I'm glad you're here," before life becomes busy again. Tiny moments, almost invisible, yet together, they quietly become a beautiful life. What if one day you discovered that happiness had been visiting you every single day, but it always arrived wearing ordinary clothes? Perhaps we spend too much of life waiting for fireworks, while missing the quiet light, already filling the sky. Maybe the most meaningful life was never meant to be extraordinary. Maybe it was always meant to be deeply noticed. Perhaps the life we've been waiting for has never been hiding in tomorrow. Perhaps it has always been waiting inside today. Not a perfect day, not a day without worries, not a day where everything finally falls into places. Just this one, the one you've been given. There is something quietly beautiful about accepting that life is rarely made of grand moments. It is mostly mornings, conversation, meals, walks, rain on the window, tea growing cold because conversation was more interesting than cup in your hands, looking up when birds begin to sing, someone smiling at you in passing, watching the light slowly disappear behind the trees. These moments rarely ask to be remembered, yet one day they become the memories that warm our hearts. Perhaps we've been searching for extraordinary lives, when all along life has been asking us to notice the extraordinary inside ordinary days. Imagine for just one day you stopped saying, "I'll be happy when," and instead you gently ask, "What is quietly beautiful about today?" Perhaps the answer wouldn't arrive immediately. Perhaps at first you wouldn't only notice small things. The warmth of sunlight through a window, freshly washed sheets, the smell of coffee, a familiar voice, the comfort of your favorite jumper, your child's laughter, your own breathing, tiny things, almost invisible. Yet somehow they begin changing the way an ordinary day feels. Perhaps gratitude isn't pretending life is perfect. Perhaps it's refusing to let beauty go unnoticed. The older I become, the more I believe that a meaningful life isn't built from extraordinary events. It's built from thousands of ordinary moments that very deeply lived, not rushed through, not postponed, not traded for another tomorrow, simply lived. I wonder how differently we would treat today if we knew it would become one of the days we miss. Would we hurry quiet so much? Would we spend so long worrying about things that won't matter? Will we notice the people sitting beside us a little more? Would we look up more often? Would we put the phone down just for a while? Would we tell people we love them before another week quietly slips away? Perhaps. And maybe the greatest tragedy isn't that life passes quickly. Maybe it's that we keep standing at the doorway of today, waiting for permission to finally begin living. Perhaps you don't need a different season, a different job, a different body, a different house, a different version of yourself. Perhaps you simply need to meet the beautiful, imperfect life already waiting for you today. Because today isn't rehearsal. It isn't practice. It isn't the waiting room for real life. It is life. This conversation, this breath, this evening, this ordinary Tuesday, this cup of tea growing cold beside you, this heartbeat, this chance to notice that you are alive. So if you've been waiting for life to begin, I hope this reflection leaves you with one gentle thought. Don't wait for a beautiful life. Become curious about the beautiful life already unfolding around you. Because perhaps happiness has never lived somewhere else. Perhaps it has quietly visited you every single day, wearing ordinary clothes, waiting patiently for you to recognize it. Thank you for spending this quiet time with me. Thank you for allowing yourself to slow down. And thank you for sharing another ordinary day with me. Perhaps ordinary days were always the most extraordinary gift of all. Until next time, take gentle care of your mind